Hello there. Hello there, everybody. My name is John Goff. I'm the Senior Service Hydrologist for the National Weather Service in Burlington, Vermont. And this is our latest winter spring flood outlook that is valid today, January 23rd through Thursday, February the 5th, 2025. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Emily Harris, Engagement Section Chief of Vermont Emergency Management, for setting up these seminars. And I'm happy to talk to you today about that. So let's go ahead and move on our outlook. It's a little bit of a complicated slide here, but let me go ahead and brief you on what we've got. The overview from a general sense is we have a below normal flood outlook for the next 2 weeks through February the 5th or February the 6th. A few takeaways from that. You can see the graphic on the right there. The entire area, in fact, most of all of New England and New York is in a below normal threat. Uh, while the river flows and soil moisture are near normal across much of our area, they are offset by below normal snow depth covering much of the region. Snow cover and snow water content are currently below normal in all areas except for portions of the northern high terrain. And another key is on average, below normal temperatures or near normal temperatures are expected over the next 2 weeks. So we're not really expecting a big thaw. And that's driving a lot of the below normal risk. There's not really a large threat for a big snowmelt event. Normal precipitation is expected during the period. Now, one thing I'd like to talk about is river ice conditions. We're not expecting any ice jam threat right now, but as many of you know, there's a lot of river ice out there, or river ice in the process of forming due to the recent cold weather. So while that threat of breakup is minimal over the next 2 weeks, valid for this outlook, this will have to be monitored as we head later into the winter when the potential for breakup ice jams will exist. Again, minimal flood impacts are expected through the first week in February. We will remain under a relatively quiet and seasonally cold midwinter weather pattern through the next 2 weeks. At this time, no highly impacted systems are anticipated, but it will depend heavily on any exact storm track, and you do lose some predictability as you get beyond a week to 10 days, as you know. The precipitation type should fall mainly in the form of snow during the forecast period, but at this point, no heavy snowfall is expected. In terms of just larger and reiterating the conditions, we've had near to below normal precipitation, below normal snow cover and snowfall, below normal snow water equivalent. The river levels are near to below normal. The soil moisture is normal to below normal. Same with groundwater, near to below normal. Temperature outlook is below normal for the outlook period as a whole, and the precipitation outlook is near to above normal for the whole. So let's go ahead and highlight some of that and some additional information here. So this is a look at our snowpack data from earlier in the week, a couple days ago. Snow depths are on the left, and snow water equivalent, or how much snow is contained in the snowpack, is on the right. A few takeaways: the larger valleys, Connecticut, Champlain, and St. Lawrence, for snow depth, mainly just 1 to 6 inches. About 7 to 20 inches in the mid-levels. Mid-terrain levels, maybe roughly 1,000 to 2,500 feet. And at the higher terrain and summits, basically 2,500 feet and on up, there's 2+ feet of snow on the ground. I believe I saw about 35 inches at Whiteface Summit in the Adirondacks, and Mount Mansfield's a little over 50. But these are below normal for mid-January, except for maybe a few of the northern higher peaks, like Mansfield, Jay Peak, some places like that. The snow water equivalent follows a similar trend to the snow depths. So in terms of the water contained in the pack, less than an inch for the large valleys, 1 to 3 inches in the mid-levels, mid-terrain levels, and you get way up to the summit levels, 4+ inches. Now, I would say when you get way up high, it's such a small geographic area that does not really contribute much to the flood threat when that melts. There's just not a lot of surface area of terrain above 3,000, 3,500 feet. But we do note that. River ice coverage as of yesterday, due to the recent cold conditions, river and lake ice formation continues in earnest. Many rivers have become largely ice covered, especially across northern counties. Our latest estimates are about a 6 to 12 inch river ice thickness. Of course, that's very variable depending on where you are and on what stretch. Could be slightly greater on some of the far northern rivers like the Missisquoi and the Passumpsic. This is a picture taken from the Bailey Avenue Bridge in Montpelier last week when we performed river ice surveys. Me and a colleague typically go out and do these bi-weekly, every 2 weeks. Again, noted in the overview, any potential for ice jam flooding right now is well below normal, just due to the persistent cold and no breakup ice events noted. But we will have to keep that in mind. And in doing the surveys last week, there is considerable ice in Montpelier, in Johnson, from the Arnold Dam north in St. Johnsbury. And there was some minor flooding in the St. Johnsbury Center area earlier in the month around the New Year. So all three of those areas, which can be ice jam prone, will have to be monitored along with other areas going forward. In terms of the current stream flow across Vermont, it's mainly near normal for most of our areas. If you look at the legend there and the circled plots, all the grayed out areas are areas where the U.S. Geological Service survey flags that data for data quality errors because there's ice all in the rivers and they don't get exactly the most accurate readings. But for the few that are available, most of the northern stream flows are around normal in Vermont. There's a few that are below normal down by the Ottauquechee in lower Connecticut. That's a drier part of the state, even going back to last fall, that did not get affected by the July 24 floods. So normal to a little bit below normal in the south, some variability as we always see here, nothing overly concerning at this point. These are the current groundwater conditions. The groundwater is typically near to below normal for most of the state, with the largest departures across southern Vermont. You see a well down here in the Springfield, Vermont area, I believe Heartland or somewhere like that. It's pretty far below normal. But with these groundwater conditions, they tend to lag the precipitation by on an order of several months, if not 6 months. So you can get heavy rain in July, but that won't actually be felt on these deeper groundwater levels for several months, and vice versa on dry conditions. So something to note going forward, but nothing overly concerning. One thing I would say, if you have slightly below stream flow levels and drier than normal groundwater conditions, it generally means the ground has better capacity to absorb any moisture that melts off, let's say in a late winter snowmelt situation. So that would be a favorable thing to look for, at least in terms of flooding potential. That would be a favorable factor to look for. I'm going to throw in Lake Champlain here, even though we're early in the winter, midwinter now, and no real concerns. The latest level taken a couple days ago is just under 95 feet. That's really close to normal. Um, our typical high flows on Lake Champlain don't occur until late April into May. You can see the purple plot here in the middle of these lines. That's the climatological normal level. I should have included a legend here. The blue is the maximum all-time observed on the date, and the green is the minimum always all-time observed. So, you typically want to see it in this normal level. This is the spring freshet runoff level. Right now, with the red line here, we're near normal. No concerns. Of course, all future lake levels will depend on future precipitation events. And if we get into a really wet spring or late winter with a lot of rain, things can change. But right now, I have no concerns for that. This is our 6 to 10-day temperature outlook. Latest indications are we have a couple series of fronts, one possibly quite a strong cold front coming next Monday or Tuesday. That would be right at the end of January. Behind that could be some very, very cold air. Still a little bit too early to forecast exact that, but it is reflected in the national outlook showing the below normal winter temperatures to continue at least for the next 6 to 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. The precipitation outlook is about normal. I would say looking further out, there are some indications that this persistent cold pattern may break after the second week in February, and we get a little bit more milder weather, more normal type stuff. But we'll have to see. These things can change quickly, and we'll be on top of it. So, in summary, our overall winter spring flood outlook for the next 2 weeks, again, this is valid through February the 5th or the 6th, depending on what day you want to look for. The next outlook will come out on February 6th. The overall outlook is below normal for all areas, and that includes open water flooding and ice jam flooding. No high risk threat right now, and that's mainly again due to normal stream levels, normal to below normal groundwater, A typical mid-season cold pattern with not any thawing episodes predicted at this point are no heavy precipitation or rainfall events. So we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. Think of it kind of like August in the summertime, where maybe your extreme heat is kind of passed from July and you're kind of in that kind of summer doldrums. We're kind of in the winter doldrums right now. So that is all I have for the briefing. Of course, we're always available. Emily will have our contact information included in some of the outreach that Vermont Emergency Management is doing with these seminars. I thank you for for your time, and as always, we're always available to help you out if you contact us for any information you may need. Thank you, and have a good day.